Happy New Year, everybody! We are in 2022, and the best way to start the new year would be to rock and roll with the best group in the gang, the Fun Bunch, the number one source, number one ticket for all things Crimson Tide. News, notes, entertainment, that being in my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, bringing you the show from the magic city of Birmingham, streaming this to you on YouTube. Speaking of a channel, go ahead right now, smash that subscribe button, hit subscribe right now. If you haven't done so, get your friends to subscribe as well, so that way you have everything you crave about your program, that being the Crimson Tide. Also, give a thumbs up, drop a like on the show, run those likes up, show us that support right there, turn all of those notifications on, hit that little bell so that way you can be up to date and informed on your Crimson Tide. We also got you covered here on Facebook and Twitter as well. We got a lot to talk about this evening. We got my man George Teague, former Bama safety, Bama legend, 1992 national champion, coming on to give his thoughts from the matchup between Alabama and Cincinnati and what he's looking forward to seeing here in the national championship rematch with Georgia. Fresh off the Cotton Bowl, I'm rocking the Cotton Bowl gear here. Fresh Cotton Bowl pullover for the college football playoff semifinal. Appreciate the great people of Dallas. I always enjoy going down there. The hospitality is second to none. But we want to hear from you tonight, Tide Nation. Blow the phone lines up. We want to hear your calls, your thoughts, your passion, your viewpoints, your insight. And you can do this by dialing 205-448-1358. Number to call in to get your voice be heard on the show, 205-448-1358. And one more time, 205-448-1358. Definitely want to hear from you. The Daily Super Chat Go, $75. Daily Super Chat Go right there. Appreciate the love coming from you guys. And it's crazy how 15 years ago today, Nick Saban changed Alabama football forever. He comes off the plane to a sea of people that were just hungry for a winner in Tuscaloosa, and he came off the plane to a crowd of fans who wanted to win again, who wanted to be relevant again, who wanted the slogan "Roll Tide" to matter again. And Coach Saban not only did that and did that tremendously during his 15 years here at Alabama, but you also have to give Mal Moore, the great Mal Moore, a lot of love and respect as well, because as an athletics director, Coach Moore saw where the program was going after the likes of Wallace Wade and Frank Thomas and Paul Bryant and Gene Stallings, what they did to raise the program to a certain level of respect. And when those guys left, Coach Moore saw the program go down, and he had the foresight and the wherewithal to know we got to get this thing back right, and we got to get a name in here to get this thing back right. So kudos to Coach Moore, God rest his soul, for bringing in Coach Saban, instilling confidence in Coach Saban, letting Saban run the program the way he needed to have it done, and just so good to see where the program is now versus where it was prior to Coach Saban getting on that plane and making it to Tuscaloosa as the latest head coach for the Crimson Tide. That was back 15 years ago today in 2007. Appreciate my man Big Bill from New York with that $5 donation, starting us off right here on the show. But we get into topic number one here of the conversation, people, and that goes to, this is an Alabama team that has found different ways to win. And it's crazy to think about it when this was supposed to have been the down year. This was supposed to have been the year where, Alabama, maybe no SEC championship, maybe no college football playoff, maybe not the competition or competing for a national championship. But lo and behold, this Alabama team wins the SEC. This Alabama team got to the college football playoff. This Alabama team is in the national championship game, which will take place next Monday at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. this team has the Heisman Trophy winner in Bryce Young. And it just speaks to how great Coach Saban truly is in the sense of adjusting, adapting, and finding different ways to pull the best out of each individual player, each individual guy on the team, knowing that sometimes you just can't be hardcore with every team. You can't be hardcore with every player. You got to figure out what's the proper way to pull the best out of this group of guys that I have right here. Because in years past, a lot of those leadership guys were your juniors, were your seniors, were your graduate students, where you have the big speeches being made on the field, or the big plays being made on the field, or something marquee happening. You would expect that to be done by your juniors, your seniors, your upperclassmen. But this year's different. The guys leading this team are two sophomores. Bryce Young, from the offensive standpoint, at quarterback, he's the one making those big speeches. He's the one putting up the production. He's the one holding guys accountable. He's the one that everybody's following offensively. And then defensively, a sophomore, Will Anderson, he's bringing the heart. He's bringing the hunger. He's bringing the intensity. He's bringing a lot of that focus. So this team, more so led by two sophomores, Saban has to come up with a different tactic to pull the best out of these guys. And he has absolutely done that. But I was just impressed with John. This team finds different ways to win. And whether it's it can put the ball in Bryce Young's hands and go, hey, man, go out there and throw for 400 or 500 passing yards. Let's put up 50-plus points and blow this team out in a shootout. Alabama can do that. Or Alabama can go, you know what? Let's put the game on the back of our offensive linemen and tell Brian Robinson, hey, man, run wild, run free. You've been here 5 years. You've been faithful. You've been committed. We're going to give you the football and let you have your heyday. We're going to give you the football and let you run free all over the darn field. And that's what Alabama is able to do. They're able to find just different ways to win football games. And this recent one against Cincinnati offensively found a way to win that one in a grinder. You got to give Brian Robinson so much credit here. In a day and age where we have a transfer portal and people want instant gratification, if you're not showing me the love initially, let me go somewhere else where I can get the love, where I can get the playing time, where I can get the notoriety, where I can get the attention put, on myself. And for Brian Robinson, growing up in Tuscaloosa, on the west side of Tuscaloosa, growing up knowing this program for what it is, growing up being exposed to this program for what it is, and for him to have had that foresight and that patience to wait behind a Damian Harris, a Najee Harris, a Josh Jacobs, a Bo Scarborough, for him not to pout, for him not to whine, for him not to complain, for him to stick to it, see the thing all the way through to the end. For a moment that he's waited for his whole life, he gets out there on the field against the Bearcats and goes for 204 yards, the most by any Alabama running back in a bowl game. Goes for 204 yards. He averages 7.8 yards per carry. And if Bill O'Brien didn't get cute there on a couple of possessions, B-Rob probably goes for 300-plus on the ground in that game. I mean, he was just mauling Cincinnati. The Bearcats couldn't tackle him, couldn't wrap him up, were afraid to get near him because he was running guys over. Played with so much energy, played with so much passion, played with so much fight, and was the most outstanding, he was the offensive MVP. There we go. He was the offensive MVP of the Cotton Bowl, and B-Rob deserved that. He deserved it. That was his moment. That was his time to shine. Of a team put it on his back, on the back of the offensive line. And what a performance by him. What a stellar showing by him as he just continues to elevate his draft stock more and more. But along with this, I got to give kudos also to Bill O'Brien. I know I mentioned that He had some plays there where he got cute there on a couple of possessions. But the one thing I got to give OB, as the players call him, I got to give OB credit for this. He was patient with the run game. We have seen at times this season where O'Brien gets away from the run game abruptly, prematurely, and he does not come back to it, and it's been a struggle. This time, though, he stayed patient. This time, though, O'Brien kept the ball in B-Rob's hands. This time, though, O'Brien said, hey, we're gonna run this football, give the ball to Brian Robinson, get him wear these guys down. You got to give O'Brien credit from where that standpoint is concerned. He did establish, he did show, he did display patience with the ground game. And we kind of saw this entering the matchup, especially when you look at Cincinnati had given up roughly 300 yards to Tulsa. So we all kind of had the idea, if Tulsa was able to put up near 300 yards, Alabama's got way more athletes than Tulsa, so the Crimson Tide should be able to put up that type of number as well. And overall, Alabama over 300 yards rushing, 301 to be exact, because Trey Sanders also added 77 yards in that mix there as well. But kudos to the B-Rob, kudos to the Bill O'Brien for trusting the run game. But then how about this? Receivers stepping up for John Mechie, because that was the conversation throughout the week was, who steps up for John Mechie? Oh, no, Mechie's out. Mechie being out, who's the big-time receiver? Who's the big-time playmaker? Alabama doesn't have another Mechie out there. Who's that guy that's going to step up? Well, Alabama had three. And first and foremost, whoever had Slade Bolden catching the first touchdown pass in the Cotton Bowl on the bingo card, come down and claim your prize, because I don't think anybody had Slade Bolden catching the first touchdown pass in the Cotton Bowl, but Slade Bolden stepped up. I mean, Blade Bolden did his thing. 3 catches, 31 yards, have a touchdown there to get the Tide going, so big ups to Slade Bolden. Also, Ja'Cory Brooks. I've been saying it. This guy has a lot of Devontae Smith type of tendencies. He's got the body of our Darius Stewart at 6'2", 190 pounds, but he's got the skill set of Devontae Smith. When you watch him catch the football, when you watch him run routes, when you watch his footwork, his legs as he's pursuing the end zone, a lot of Devontae Smith right there. And he had 4 catches for 66 yards, including a 44-yard touchdown reception in the second quarter, giving Alabama a 17-6 lead. Big performance there from Ja'Cory Brooks. And then Cameron Latou with the third touchdown grab. He caught the third touchdown pass from one Bryce Young. So, I mean, Bryce didn't have a 400-yard game, but it didn't call for one. He didn't need one. Had the 3 touchdown passes right there, hooked up with different receivers. Alabama had different guys to step up there offensively in the absence of John Mechie. But the big part of this is the Tide found a different way to win. And it's been doing it all season. It can beat you in a shootout. It can beat you in a high-scoring offensive slugfest. But it can also beat you in a grinder. It can also squeeze the living life out of you and suffocate you all the way out. And that's what it did to Cincinnati, pounding the ball with Brian Robinson, putting it on the back of the offensive line. Patience by Bill O'Brien in the run game, and Bryce Young still being able to go out there targeting Ja'Cory Brooks, targeting Slade Bolden, targeting Cameron Latou, all for touchdowns there. So big ups there for the Crimson Tides, flexing muscle on the Cincinnati Bearcat defense in the Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic, winning 27-6. But we take our first break here on the show. Don't touch that dial, just getting started. When upon our return, folks, we go to the phone lines to grab your calls, your thoughts, your tweets, your chats, your interactions. We get to you, the Tide Nation, right after this.
You're watching In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith, brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace today by visiting weownthefourthquarter.com. Throw them foes up.
What's up, Bama Nation? This is Rudy Griffin, former Alabama defensive lineman, and you're listening to my guy, Stephen M. Smith, in my own words, brought to you by Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Roll Tide, roll!
9 players have teamed up and released the Alabama Team Paper, which is a video yearbook they've put out for sale direct to fans. Now, for the first time, small dollar purchases from the fans can support the players as a group as well as a great cause, because $1 of every subscription payment is donated to the Boys and Girls Club of America. Be a 5-star fan base and support your team and a great cause with Team Paper. Check it out at teampaper.com/Alabama.
Remember the taste of Grandma's delicious sweets? Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes brings back those precious memories with just one bite. Each cake made from scratch. They make the perfect dessert to share with family and friends for any occasion, and ordering is easy. Visit emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Click the online store and shop. Then pick up your fresh cake at the kitchen in downtown Homewood. Order yours online at emily'sheirloompoundcakes.com. Emily's Heirloom Pound Cakes, making memories from scratch.
And we are back into the action here, folks, from the break with number 1 form for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine, rocking the Goodyear Cotton Bowl gear on the show. Appreciate the people down there in Dallas hooking me up here with the Cotton Bowl gear for the college football playoff semifinal. Crimson Tide getting a 27-6 victory over the Cincinnati Bearcats at AT&T Stadium. But we got some super chats to get to right now. We got my man Jimmy Clay, baby. Jimmy the Bad Man Clay comes in here with that $50 donation, showing love on the show. And then he came back with a $20 donation, so $70 coming from Jimmy Clay. And then we got Sam Foster with that $5 donation, showing love. Appreciate Sam Foster. And then we got Ballard Sports Media, my man Ballard, with that $5 donation. So appreciate the love from all of you. The daily Super Chat goal of $75 has been met thanks to you, the fans, the family, making this your show, your network, your platform, your space to talk Crimson Tide football. Right now, we go to the phone lines to grab your calls. Call segment is brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. Number to call in right there, 205-448-1358. Coach Smoke, my man Senator Hines with that $25 donation, showing love as well. But we take our first call of the evening. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, what's going on, Steve? You got your boy Sam Foster calling from Dallas, Texas.
Sam, what's going on, brother?
Hey, man. Hey, Steve, man, I just want to say, man, it was an absolute treat, man, to have you guys down here in Dallas this past week, man. Originally, of course, from Birmingham, man, and so I was happy, man, and telling everybody, man, about you guys, and you guys didn't disappoint. The team didn't disappoint. My thing is now, man, I think that the team is now more focused than ever. I think they still have a chip on their shoulder because of the way that Georgia destroyed Michigan. I think that they still think that people are kind of underestimate them, but that can be a good thing. I checked out Coach Saban's interview today, and it was spot on. Coach Saban's interview was spot on. Those guys are locked in. I'm looking forward to see a great Georgia game. I think it may be tight first 2 quarters, Steven. And then on the third, man, we're going to match the gas. Roll Tide.
Appreciate Sam calling in there from Texas, getting started here on the show. We grab this call here. You're live on the show on a Monday. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Steve. This is Robert from Chicago. Can you hear me?
I can hear you, Robert. What's going on?
Hey, I'm doing great. Got a little snow here, but we're doing good. But, hey, I want to give you my stream of consciousness, and feel free to comment on any one of the subjects that you I'm doing great. Hey, the bottom line here to me, as we look at this Georgia game, is to be a championship team, you got to have a championship quarterback. And when you look at the two teams, they're pretty evenly matched, but I think the real difference maker is Bryce Young versus Stetson Bennett. And I'm confident Bryce will have a good game. I'm not sold on Stetson Bennett at all. I think he'll crack under pressure. I think sometime in the first 5 to 10 plays, he must go down, and he must go down hard. And I think we have to get pressure up the middle, and we have to do a lot more intimidation in this game. Also, I think from a defensive standpoint, we got to lock down Bowers. And I look at Helms and Branch. I think they can't give him more free releases like they get the last game. And when he gets the ball, he's got to pay. They got to make him pay. On the offensive side, I view it a little differently than the Cincinnati game. They took what the defense gave them. I think Georgia, we got to have a different view. We got to take what we want. I think that secondary is weak. I think we got to go to the vertical game. I think we got to take some deep shots with Billingsley, Jameson, Jacoby, Chris Leary coming out with a swing route. And I think we got to make them pay for the additional pressure I'm sure they're going to bring to this game against Bryce. I think they're going to bring a lot more pressure because they had a little bit of success in the second half. But all in all, I agree with the last caller. I think it'll be a tight game, but I think down the stretch, Bama will pull out. But those are the philosophies I think Bama should have moving forward. Be curious to your thoughts on any of them.
Appreciate the call. They're coming from my man Robert out of Chicago. And I agree, this is going to be a different game from the SEC Championship. Both teams are going to have a different mindset going in. I think with Alabama, offensively, you got to take some shots. You got to put the ball downfield. You're not going to be able to just – I think you're going to have some success running the ball with B-Rob, but you're going to have to put that ball in Bryce's hands and say, Bryce, be special, because you know what Young can give you at that quarterback position, especially off script. I mean, of course, defensively, this is a game where you're going to have to get after Stetson Bennett consistently, frustrate him all game long because he can make winning plays. But when you frustrate him, when you get to him, it becomes difficult for him to make those types of plays at quarterback. But we grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Well, Stephen, I made it back after Wednesday's last tornado. I had to cut you short there. The bad weather came in on me. I tell you what, thank the good Lord that he's still on the throne like I always say. But I'm going to tell you something. 15 years ago today, the greatest football coach in college football history landed in Tuscaloosa. The relentless pursuit Coach Moore put into hiring Nick Saban, it needs to be painted all over that college down there. It needs to be everywhere you look, everywhere you step. You need to see something about Mal Moore down there, because without Coach Moore, Coach Saban wouldn't be there today. And I know you spoke a good word there yesterday in the service where you was talking, but you got a little nervous on the plane there. We left Denver one time going to Edmonton, Canada. We got up in the air. That darn pilot banked that plane to the left. I thought I was in a video game. It just about threw me out of my seat. A tornado hit the terminal we came out of, blew it away. He dodged that tornado when he banked to the left. Got to Edmonton. It got so rough I was on that wing seat. My buddy was in the back left. He was bouncing around back there. He looked like SpongeBob. Man, I tell you what, you got to get those wing seats and stay on that wing seat. And I'm going to get out of here. Blue Ridge Gang, chat, I love all of you. Everybody donating. TDA loves everybody. Wayden loves everybody. Y'all stay safe. Happy New Year. Stephen, if you got an injury report, give me something about the injury report. We need to hear about these injuries. We love all y'all. Bye-bye, everyone, and we'll discuss more about these plane rides Wednesday. I love y'all. Bye-bye, everyone.
Appreciate Waylon for calling in right there. And just going back to Mal Moore, as important as it was to get Coach Saban into Tuscaloosa 15 years ago, and it was just based off of where the program was in relation to where it had been. It had fallen off greatly from, like I said, where Wallace Wade, Frank Thomas, Paul Bryant, Gene Stallings had it at previously prior to Coach Saban. But it's just that much more important to talk about Mal Moore's impact. Coach Moore instilled so much confidence in Saban to let him know, hey, I believe in you. You come in here. I'm going to take my hands off the football thing. You run it the way you want to run it. I'm going to stand behind to give you all the support that you need. And that's what Coach Moore did. He didn't bombard Coach Saban. He brought him in here, made him feel like college is where you need to be at, and Alabama is where you need to be at, and I'm going to supply you with every resource you need to be the best in the game. So as much as we herald Coach Saban for coming, and absolutely you do that, you have to also herald Mal Moore for his pursuit of bringing Coach Saban in here. We take this call now. We got to shout, Cliff Reese, my man Cliff Reese, with that $5 donation, showing love on the show. Appreciate the support. They're coming from Cliff Reese, but now we take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name, where you're calling from.
Hey there, Stephen. This is Jim Gallagher out of Dallas, Texas. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, Jim, my man. What's going on?
Well, I told you last week that I had a feeling that they might be intending to run against Cincinnati, and sure enough, they did. They run all over the field on them. B-Rob had a great game, of course, and but I want to point out that offensive line. They were run blocking like you need to run block, because there were several times there that they were knocking Cincinnati off the line 3 yards. By the time B-Rob caught up with his offensive line, he was already 3 yards downfield. I mean, they were just running all over him. And that's the way run blocking is supposed to be done. You're supposed to drive the other team off the ball. And, boy, they did a really good job of it.
I think Jim having Joe Pendry down in Dallas last week had quite a bit to do with that.
Yeah, I believe you're right. He's an old school guy, not some of this fancy stuff, and that's just what they did. They just lined up, played a little smash mouth football. My boys are going to whoop yours, and that's the way it was. I also want to point out that something I intended to say last week, and I forgot to say it. The defense, especially the defensive line and linebackers, they have come a long, long way this year. I mean, they're starting to look like the defensive line and linebacker crew we've had for the last 8 or 10 years, and they're looking really strong. It looked like their pass rush was so good out there, and they were swatting so many balls down that that Cincinnati quarterback was trying to throw. They were swatting them right back in his face. Looked like they were out there playing basketball, and instead of football. And by doing that and getting that pass rush and putting pressure on the quarterback, they are also protecting one of our weak spots, which is our defensive secondary. They're buying time for our secondary when they get their pass rush on that quarterback, and it's just something really, that defensive secondary, they haven't been that strong this year. They've had injuries, I understand, but they didn't have a lot of experience either. And the more time, the more balls they can swat down, and the more time they can give them to get coverage, that's just better for that defensive secondary. There was one other thing I was going to point out, and this is a discussion that's ongoing. I noticed after the Georgia game that you had Cincinnati and Michigan combined put up a total of 1 late garbage touchdown against the Bama defense and the Georgia defense. They put up a total between them combined of 17 points. Stephen, that's just embarrassing. I mean, both of them, compared to Alabama and Georgia, are pretenders. And there's people out there calling for, oh, no, we need 6 or 8 teams. We need 12 teams in the playoffs. What, so they can just come in there and get their butt kicked in the first round? It was embarrassing, honestly. And Cincinnati had put up average 40 points a game. They couldn't even score a touchdown. I mean, that's just, honestly, just embarrassing. And a lot of people was picking Michigan to beat Georgia, which was, of course, ridiculous to even think that way. And then they come out there because Michigan didn't have no speed. Speed in a football, speed is it. Speed is your maximum weapon. you can outrun the other guy. You're going to beat him every time. And anyway, that's just all I had to say for today, and I'll call you a little bit later with my pick on this Georgia game. But I'm happy we won. I thought the whole team played very, very well, and I expect them to play very, very well against Georgia too.
Appreciate my man Jim Gallagher from Texas calling in, showing us some love here Monday on the show. We got some more super chats to get to. You guys blowing us up, showing love right now. So how about the brother 6-0? How about 6-0 one time? That $50 donation helping us out here on the show. Appreciate 6-0. And then we got Hendricks in here. We got Jovi Hendricks in here with that $9.99 in the super chats. Appreciate Jovi Hendricks and 6-0 showing us the love here on the network. We continue with calls right now. Well, we got to go to a topic right here. So before we get to calls, we got a quick topic here, transition to this, and a topic actually goes to the injuries there, according to our own Wayland, talking about that earlier. So Alabama had 2 injuries on the offensive line in the Cotton Bowl, those 2 being Emil Ekiyor at right guard and Chris Owens at right tackle. According to Coach Saban, he is highly hopeful to have both of those 2 guys back and prepared to play next week against Georgia for the national championship. He is very much so in line with the team doctors, the team training staff, Jeff Allen, that everybody will have both of these 2, Ekiyor and Chris Owens, back, set, and prepared to go here for the matchup against Georgia. No new injuries to report here in terms of Alabama. Now, in the event that an Ekiyor or Chris Owens does not go, then you would have a J.C. Latham at right guard in replacement of Ekiyor. Latham came in the matchup against Cincinnati, played pretty well right there. And at that right tackle position, if Owens would not be able to go, then you would have Amari Kite. But according to Coach Saban, he is highly hopeful that everybody will be in this matchup here. All the healthy players will be in this matchup right here against Georgia, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis on next Monday night. But if you're still in the phone lines, holders, hold through the next 10 minutes here, callers. Hold through, or you can call back in the next 10 minutes. But right now, we're going to go to a break because when we get back, we got the legend George Teague coming on the show to give his thoughts from the Cincinnati game and to set us up for Bama, Georgia, and the sequel for the national championship next week. You're listening to In My Own Words. We're coming back.
You know what we do at the start of the 4th quarter. We throw them foes up. But now you don't have to wait until the 4th quarter. Get your 4-finger bling necklace at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. It's the first and only logo that captures the essence of all Crimson Tide players and fans as we represent the legendary Alabama football 4th quarter dominance. Get your 4-finger bling necklace right now at WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com. Get yours today and stun on them haters. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide.
And we're back in, folks, from the break of a number 1 form, number 1 ticket for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Got the man John Ivory in the production studio. Happy New Year to everybody. We're in 2022. The Crimson Tide next week will take on the Georgia Bulldogs for the national championship, all for all supremacy in college football. But right now, we go to the In My Own Words hotline. We get the heaviest hitter of them all, one of the baddest men, baddest safeties to ever play for the Crimson Tide under the great Gene Stallings, 1992 national champion, the leader of that 92 national championship team, especially on defense. We got George the Hitman Teague. George, what's going on, man?
Man, it's good to be in the house. Happy New Year's to you. Appreciate it, man. I'm so happy that we headed to the championship, baby.
Absolutely. We got George Teague live here on the show talking Crimson Tide football. If you're just tuning in to In My Own Words on a Monday. So, George, 15 years ago, Alabama got Nick Saban. He comes off the plane from the NFL with the Miami Dolphins. He enters a sea of people that were just hungry for a winner, hungry for a champion, hungry for the slogan "Roll Tide" to really mean something again of great value. And you played for Gene Stallings, and Coach Stallings was kind of in that same boat after Coach Bryant retired and left. You kind of had that little lull there, and then Coach Stallings comes in and he brings the program to a championship in '92. Do you see any similarities, striking similarities between Coach Stallings and Coach Saban?
I do, as a matter of fact. And when he did come in off that plane, I did have the opportunity to talk to Coach Saban face to face, which I was very proud of that moment and happy of that moment, just to be able to speak to him. And when he talked about his vision for the program, I immediately felt it was going to be back, and I'll tell you why. And it's not a knock on any other coach, Coach DuBose or Shula or any of those other guys. It was just that he immediately started talking about caring for the players and making sure those guys were going to be successful on and off the field. It wasn't necessarily about, hey, we're going to go win championships and, I'm going to bring in the right staff, blah, blah, blah. He started talking about how do we get kids to graduate, how do we set them up for success after they get done playing, whether that's going to the league or some other kind of way. And that reminded me of my coach in the sense of, hey, we're going to go out here and do what we got to do. We're going to play some ball and all that kind of stuff, but we're going to be family. We're going to fight for each other. We're going to grind, but we got some goals to do all the way around. And you see that with Coach Saban now. He's, even now he's having to adjust, right? Working through NILs and how do we handle money and the financial programs that he's putting there. And it's still more than just a game. And I think I know that's why guys love to play for him.
If you're just tuning into the show on a Monday, we got the legend George Teague, 1992 national champion, right here on the phone lines. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. So, George, going back to now the Cotton Bowl against Cincinnati, a tremendous game defensively all the way around. But just in your opinion, being a defensive guy, how was Alabama able to just stifle, suffocate, take the Bearcats completely out of the element they want to play in?
Well, we challenged them. We knew that we were going to need to be able to stop their running game, not let them get going. So just controlling the line of scrimmage, as your previous caller had just mentioned and said, it was, smothering them with our talent and our size up front. The D-line linebackers did a tremendous job of gap control and not letting get things out of hand with the way they were going to try to run the ball, because we knew with Ritter and those guys that, if we was going to force him to try to beat us with his arms, that wasn't going to happen. So I was glad we were able to limit their running game. I think it was under less than 100 yards they ended up having for the whole game. 70, 80 yards, I believe. So that was the difference in all of it, was that we were able to shut their run game down.
If you look at just right here, George, the rematch between Alabama and Georgia for the national championship, of course, we've seen this picture before after the 2017 season, the 18 title game. We saw what happened there in the second half. Nick Saban puts all the freshmen on the field. Tua Tagovailoa, Devontae Smith, 2nd and 26. But now, after the Crimson Tide winning the SEC title matchup against Georgia, here we go with it again. Kirby Smart, Nick Saban. How does this one unfold next week, in your opinion?
I think it'll be tighter. We obviously know how the result of the last game came. I don't know that we'll be able to run the ball as effectively as we did against Cincinnati. Two different teams, two different talent level on both sides of the ball up front. So we'll have to get creative. to make that happen. My one little thing that I have a small concern with, I'll say small, is, not having Mitchie there to complement Jameson Williams. I think that was a big factor in that. So these other guys that we have, Jacoby Brooks, others, we got to have them step up so that when we need to take some shots or have some passes thrown, we need to be able to do that. I think that Cincinnati's secondary is probably better than Georgia's secondary. They did a good job of keeping us in check for the most part of, any big shots or home runs and stuff of that nature. But I don't know that Georgia can do that. So I do expect it to be a little bit closer than it was the past game, just because, you see each other in a month. You have plenty of time to prepare and see what happened and how to adjust. I still think we win by, I would say about 13 points. I like that number 13 for some reason. So I think it'll be a good game, but I think we prevail and win the game up in Indianapolis.
Number 13 is picking Alabama by 13 in the national championship between the Crimson Tide and Georgia Bulldogs next week. We got George Teague, 1992 national champion, one of the baddest hitting men on the field, talking with us here in my own words. Yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown, Alabama Magazine. Last quick one here on my end, George, is just the psyche of Kirby Smart going into this game. He has not won against Coach Saban yet. He's winless in the last 4 tries against Coach Saban. Georgia's 1-7, if I'm not mistaken. The lone win was 2007. How much pressure has to be in the minds of the Georgia faithful going? So many chances to take out Nick Saban. Is this the one where we can get this done? Like, how much pressure is on Kirby Smart in your opinion?
There's a ton of pressure on them because I know they hired – a lot of people will hire people from Saban staff within the secondaries, like Pruitt and those other guys, because they think that they'll be able to come in and beat him, and that hasn't happened yet. So Kirby is – I guarantee you he's watched every single one of them games, tried to figure out what he's missed, all the ones that he's lost. And he's stressing the same way that the fans are and everybody else saying, how do we get over this hump? So – he's watched more film this week than he ever has, probably over the month. Not that he overlooked anybody, Michigan or whatnot, but I know he's preparing to say, okay, how can I beat this guy? What do I have to do? What faults do we have at Alabama? And he's going to try to exploit that. But it'll be detrimental to him mentally, probably, if he's not able to pull out this win against us. It'll be sad. It'll be sad for him.
We got George Teague here on the show, 1992 national champion for the Crimson Tide, one of the greatest athletes to ever play in terms of the program. George, as always, man, we appreciate you coming on, spending some time here with us. Happy New Year to you, my man. You stay safe. Take care of yourself. Be good.
Happy New Year. Roll Tide.
Got to always enjoy talking with George Teague here and breaking down Crimson Tide football from all areas, all facets. We're going to take a break here on the show. Don't touch that dial. When we come back, it's back on you, Crimson Tide faithful, with your phone calls, your thoughts, your chats, your interactions. We'll be back after this.
Don't touch that dial. Call in right now as we're taking your calls up next on In My Own Words with Stephen M. Smith. Brought to you by We Own the Fourth Quarter. Visit WeOwnTheFourthQuarter.com now to get your 4-finger bling necklace.
This is Chris Rogers, 2009 national champion. You are listening to the baddest, when I say the baddest, sports show in the state of Alabama. In my own words, yours truly, Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Don't touch that dial.
Every sports fan deserves the proper representation. Whitwell Sports introduces to you the Title Towel. Wave that Title Towel in the air like you just don't care, in support of Nick Saban and the Alabama Crimson Tide. Only $9.99 and it lasts a lifetime. Head on over to WhitwellSports.com and get your Title Towel today.
Look at all these great players at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. Man, wait till I turn up this year. I'm gonna be on the front cover. But what if Will goes off? Or Joe, DeMarco, Chris, Tim, Christian.
Don't wait. Order now at touchdownalabama.com or call 833-483-2624 today.
Christian or Jameer.
All right, folks, we're back in from the break with number one form for Bama football news. In my own words, yours truly, Stephen Smith, Touchdown Alabama Magazine, Crimson Tide taking care of Cincinnati 27-6 in the 86th Goodyear Cotton Bowl Classic in AT&T Stadium. The Crimson Tide punching that ticket into the national championship game taking place next week on Monday night at Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis in the sequel against the Georgia Bulldogs. We appreciate you guys checking us out. Be sure to like the show. Run those likes up. Smash that like button. Like the show up, people. Make this your show, your network, your platform for all things Crimson Tide football. Guys, shout out Jimmy the Bad Man Clay again with that 2501 in the Super Chats here. We got that $200 here in terms of the Super Chats here. Appreciate Jimmy Clay showing love here on the show. But we go to the phone lines to grab your calls. The call segment is brought to you by the Blue Wrench Gang, 205-448-1358. Number to call in to let your voice be heard, 205-448-1358. We grab this call. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling tonight? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Stephen M. It's Robert from Mobile.
Rob, what's happening, man?
The last game, we went down pretty much like we all figured. There was nothing that Cincinnati could do to really challenge Alabama. It was pretty much over almost before the ball was even snapped. And Brian Robinson has become the new poster child for the waiting your turn in the Nick Saban process. It used to be Mac Jones. Now I think Brian Robinson's got him beat out. It was just great to see the guy get shine like he did when he's waited his turn through the process. And now the new leader in Alabama football history for a bowl game, most yards in a bowl game, is now Brian Robinson. Cincinnati was just begged to be run on. I knew if Tulsa can get 300, goodness gracious, Alabama can definitely get over 250. And, of course, Brian Robinson got more, almost that many yards by himself. So now that the preliminaries are out of the way, it's time for the real deal, the rematch against Georgia. And as we all know, it's not going to be the same as it was last time. Most likely they'll blitz Bryce Young constantly. And so now the offense is going to have to come up with a new plan to get around that. Because Georgia's going to be far more aggressive. Although Vegas is helping Alabama out with the yummy rat poison by making us an underdog again. So that'll help a little bit. But Georgia will have revenge on their minds, which will counter the rat poison for now. So they're going to have to handle Georgia's aggressiveness. I'm sure the Saban and the coaching staff will have a plan for it. Hopefully we'll start to see the tight ends use more, get the ball out of Bryce Young's hands quicker, and run more. Now it looks like we got a fully healthy Brian Robinson. The moves he's putting on in that game is just outstanding. And we got to give credit to Pete Golding. I mean, again, we can't just keep downing him when the defense doesn't play well. We have to give credit to Pete Golding when the defense does play well. And right now the defense is playing well, so credit to Pete Golding. Hopefully they'll have another good game like that, because I expect Stetson Bennett looked pretty good in the game against Michigan. That he passed the ball well and was more aggressive with his run, which I think he'll do again against Alabama. He's going to run more and use more of his athleticism the way Bryce Young did against them. Look for Stetson Bennett to do the same thing against Alabama. So it'll be something they'll have to watch out for. So it'll definitely be everybody's tired of the SEC championship or the SEC in championship games, but hey, you don't want any more beaters. And I saw you mentioned that it was 15 years ago today that Nick Saban ruined college football by becoming the head coach at the University of Alabama. So for the rest of college football, not a good anniversary to remember. As far as they're concerned, is the day college football got ruined. But oh well, that's how it goes. All right, man, it's great talking with you.
Appreciate Robert from Mobile, that call coming in right there. And just for me here, this matchup against Georgia, it is going to be intriguing because I remember this was the reason why they put a stop to the BCS, because people kept saying it's computers. It's computers. These computers don't know nothing. These computers are trash. Let's get an eye test on this puppy. Let's get some real eyeballs on this thing, and then we'll see who the real champion is. And then you bring in the college football playoff, and we get the same thing again with the SEC representing college football in the national championship game. People, sometimes you are not going to hold the great teams out of the picture. You're just not going to do it. It doesn't matter what type of obstacle or what type of motion you put in here. You're not going to keep the great teams from being a part of the grandest stage of the sport. But we take a call here. You're live on the show. What's happening? How we feeling? State your name and where you're calling from.
Steven, feeling good. How you feeling, brother?
Bill, I'm doing fantastic. It's a new year, and I'm right here talking to you, the Crimson Tide family, with my man John Ivory. I mean, you can't beat this.
All right. Well, Steven, the game went as I expected in terms of offense. You know, our offensive line just overpowered their defensive line. Special shout-out to Evan Neal, and, of course, that brutal number 56. Where was he all season? I mean, that guy is good, and he's a badass. You know, on defense, it was even better than I expected. I like to give shout-outs to unsung heroes. What about Brian Branch? Do you know he had 8 tackles? He had 6 solo tackles, a half a sack, and 2 passes defended. I don't recall, did he block one? I don't even remember. I got to watch the tape again. And my man Daniel Wright, you never hear about him, but let me tell you, that tackle for a 10-yard loss was big when it happened. You know what I'm saying? And I always like the kid. He makes plays. I heard criticisms about him, but I think he makes plays. Now, let's get to Georgia. My thing, Steven, is clearly this. We need to take the lead. They're a good team. They're a really good team, great team, but when we take the lead, they're going to have to play catch-up. And you know what's going to happen, Steven? We're going to step on them. We're going to crush them like a bug because they can't play catch-up against Crimson Tide. We got defensive players making plays. We're going to beat them, and it'll be a thing of beauty watching us stomp on those fools. Now, the last thing I want to say is always, listen, thank you for letting me be a part of your show. Thanks to everybody who like the Blue Wrench Gang. Thanks to everybody who listens and calls. Your show's great. You personally are going places. And my thing is, roll Tide. We got to beat these fools.
Appreciate Bill from New York for his thoughts right there calling in. And I agree. Brian Branch has been on a tear. If you haven't been watching Branch play since the Iron Bowl, probably even since the LSU game, 14 has turned up. Daniel Wright, probably one of the more improved players on the team. And then how about Kyrie Jackson? He stepped up as well and had a very good game at corner. I know Jalen Armour-Davis started that game. Probably wasn't all the way 100%. Nick Saban switched him out for Kyrie Jackson, and the JUCO from East Mississippi Community College did an outstanding job outside. So definitely giving those kudos to those unsung heroes defensively. We grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Steven, it's your boy, Coach Smoop from Phoenix City, Alabama. Man, I'm turned and I'm ready. I am happy to be back. I'm happy to be in the new year. Happy New Year to you, Justin, John, Mr. Benny, the whole team up there at TDA. Man, it's this year starting off great, man. This year starting off great. We sitting in the same position we was last year, about to play for a national championship. I mean, you can't ask for nothing better right now, right, Steven?
You can. I mean, you really can. And seeing how the team stifled Cincinnati, I mean, that was great. I thoroughly enjoyed myself in Dallas at the Cotton Bowl, but now we get the rematch. SEC teams in the college football playoff national championship. People tried so hard to keep the SEC out of this, but the SEC always finds its way back into something.
And I want to make 2 quick points. I'm looking at the time. two quick points, man. One, we need to give our offensive coordinators their due respect. Bill O'Brien, we could have easily put up 42, 55, 63, but there was no need to turn the page if page one was being effective. We didn't need to score on every drive. We didn't need to score and just keep blowing up, running up the stats. We've already did a whole season full of that, finding different things. We literally had to work on our run game. We needed to work on our run game to prepare for either Michigan or Georgia. Me, honestly, a lot of people, Saban talks a good talk. Saban talks like he doesn't overlook teams, but I think Saban has been coaching long enough to know when he has not only the skill advantage or the talent advantage, but he has the schematic advantage. And that staff at Cincinnati, they haven't had the scheme against the level of talent that they played against. So Saban factored that in. Numbers play out usually when you have talent that's better. The numbers usually play out. And when you have a defense giving up 120 plus yards a game, and you got a O-line that grew throughout the season that they're going to have to go against, and you got a running back that's been eager to get back on the field, that's first-round talent, probably going to go early second round, but first-round talent, and Brian Robinson, it's hard to scheme for that when you don't have the talent on your defense. So that's one of the points. Pete Golden, lights out play calling for the defense. Like I said from jump, I see a different mentality from these players on the defense side. Now, early in the season, it was a lot of guys doing things that they thought that they needed to do instead of doing what they were coached to do. And now you see guys like Henry To'oTo'o finally coming on the last probably 3 games of the season. Auburn, SEC championship game, and this game, he has been on point. You know what? I give him credit. Even back in the Tennessee game, he faced a little adversity, but he had a very solid game. And he was actually making plays, not tagging along, but just making plays by himself, making great reads. And then the secondary, Kyrie Jackson is that man. If we want to stop doggone Georgia, any chance of them playing us over top, trying to try us over top on the outside, we got to have Kyrie Jackson. And I would experiment. This is me, but I know we won't do it because that's not like Saban. I would experiment with having Kyrie Jackson match up against the biggest receiver. I would even experiment with having, if Jalen Armour-Davis is healthy, I would even experiment with Kyrie Jackson coming into the nickel and lining up, having the responsibility of guarding Brock Bowers. You get that extra 3 or 4 inches of height that you're missing from your other corners, and then you also get the length because Kyrie Jackson has a 6'5" wingspan. That's what makes him dangerous. He has a 6'5" wingspan, and he runs a 4.4 40. You don't have a lot of receivers out there running 4.4. So I like Kyrie Jackson. Kool-Aid, I seen somebody in the chat say Kool-Aid got to do a better job at locking down. Man, Kool-Aid is probably the only corner that we've seen all season that actually trusts his feet. And he is always aware of where the ball is. He might get he gets beat at least once a game, but those quick slant routes, Kool-Aid's responsibility, and you can tell what he's been coached to do not get beat deep. Do not get turned around. And that's what he's been playing, and his recovery speed is excellent. And the secondary just played lights out. Daniel Wright, DeMarco Hellens, they're finally playing with some sense, man, and it shows the talent. We knew the talent was there 2 years ago. Last year and early this year, we didn't know what they were doing. But this defense is clicking, and you guys want to know why it's clicking? It got to do with the coaching staff. So y'all stop knocking our coaching staff. Y'all stop knocking what's being developed, and appreciate what Coach Saban is doing. This game against Georgia is going to go very different. And me personally, Steven, y'all might think I'm crazy, but I feel like if Georgia mess around and if we win the coin toss, if Saban receives the ball first, wants the ball first, Georgia's losing this game. Georgia will give up a score on that first drive because they won't be anticipating trying to get on the if we get the toss, that defense is not going to be anticipating trying to come out there. And if they send more pressures, Christian Leary is going to be an X factor for days. I'm telling y'all, Christian Leary out the backfield, the adjustment window between with Alabama's coaching staff these past 3 games has been so much tighter. We haven't had to wait till halftime to wait for adjustments. We've seen immediate adjustments on following drives throughout the last 3 big games. And that's what I love to see. Guys are paying attention. They're locked in. And this sophomore class that you touched on, Stephen, this sophomore class that you're saying, the leaders, they are preaching to these new guys coming in. Hey, man, y'all come in. Hey, Ja'Cory Brooks, Ajayi Hall, all you guys that's, fighting for that time right now, next year is y'all year if y'all stick with it. And then we got some young guys that y'all going to have to mentor up. And when y'all become juniors and y'all sitting in this place ready to play for another national championship, this is going to be a pitch that you're going to do a pitch to them. Always be ready. You never know what's going to happen, you know. And that's why Alabama football is so great. But honestly, Steven, I'm gonna watch some more film. I've seen how Georgia played Michigan. If Michigan just threw the ball up on the outside 5 or 6 times, that's a different game. Georgia's secondary is not elite at all. That front seven still is a problem, but that secondary, I'm talking about safeties and corners, nickel corners. Your three high safety that you bring in, they are not good at all, Steven. They are not good at all. They are very confused back there. Any advanced concept of passing schemes, they get lost on it. So I'm very confident about us. Roll Tide to everybody in the chat. Appreciate you taking my call, Steven. And, man, like I said, Happy New Year. I'm so ready for next week, man. You all be blessed. Roll Tide. I'm out.
Appreciate Senator Hines, Coach Smoot, calling in, showing love here on the show on a Monday. We continue with calls. We go to one right here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Tide man from Jackson, Mississippi, checking in. Roll Tide, brother. And
how we doing, Tide man? What's going on?
Let me tell you, brother. I'm doing wonderful. I hate to follow Bill from New York and Coach Smoot because those guys know football much more than I do, and I love to hear them breaking down the intricacies and the nuances and the X's and O's, and they know their stuff, man. It's a beautiful thing. I just sit back and listen to it, and so I'm, I wanted to call in first because I had 5 topics to talk about, but after hearing you bring up so many other things, so I'm gonna break it down to 2 quick things, real quick. First of all, George Teague. Let me tell you something. I just saw somebody running down the street. I was like, who's that running down the street? I was like, that's Lamar Thomas. He's still looking for somewhere to hide. Lamar Thomas from Miami, still looking for somebody, somewhere to hide because George Teague absolutely humiliated and embarrassed him on national TV in 1992. And that was the year when I moved from Atlanta, Georgia to Birmingham, Alabama. And I was already a Bama fan, but it was that 1992 national championship team that pushed me all the way over the edge, and I was all in. And that George Teague strip of Lamar Thomas, that pick 6 he got, and that whole Roll Tide. And that interview was wonderful. So if he's still listening, if George Teague is still listening to your show, man, George Teague, thank you because of you, I'm an Alabama fan today, and you just demonstrated what Alabama's all about: class, character, doing it the right way, and then having fun as you do it. But the second thing, which you said earlier in the show, Stephen M., was Brian Robinson. Goes back to, and it ties into George Teague because Brian, I had tears in my eyes when I heard Brian Robinson being interviewed after that game because this guy grew up in Tuscaloosa. Dude's got the script A on both of his shoulders, tattooed on both shoulders. This guy is, in this day and age, like you said, with all the transfer portals and all the rest of it, this guy was born and bred to play for the Crimson Tide, and we finally got a chance to see him at 100% healthy. We've all known what he could do, but he's not been healthy. Finally got to see him 100% healthy against Cincinnati, and I'm telling you, man, it's a shame that he doesn't have another year or 2 under his belt because he'd be a Heisman Trophy winner. This is how good this guy is. But he not care about that. He not care about. All he cares about is wanting to win a national championship for the Alabama Crimson Tide, and he gives his heart and soul to this university and to this state, and to the fans and to Nick Saban and to his teammates, and his family, and it's a beautiful thing to behold because you're not going to see many more like him with that kind of character and class as the years go on. So if he's listening or if he has a way to hear this broadcast, man, thank you, Brian Robinson, for what you've done for us and for Alabama football. And I guess I'll call in maybe Wednesday or Thursday and maybe break down some things about the Georgia Bulldogs. But I'm just right now, this was supposed to be a rebuilding year, right? This is supposed to be a rebuilding year for us. And here we are, Heisman Trophy winners, back-to-back, SEC champion winners, back-to-back, playing for the national championship. This is probably Nick Saban's greatest coaching job in his 15-year tenure at Alabama. That's what I say. But anyway, thanks for what you do, man. Thanks for all the people that call in. Roll Tide. Happy New Year. Keep Christ first. Love your brother. Love your neighbor. Love your enemies, even too. Even love Auburn fans, right? We're all in this thing together. All right. Roll Tide. Peace.
Appreciate Todd, man, calling in there from Mississippi, showing love here on the show on a Monday. We continue with calls. We grab one here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Stephen, this is Corey from Trustful. How are you doing tonight?
Doing great, Corey, and yourself. Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, too. I have a couple of questions for you. My first question is, did Brian Branch take over the starting star spot because of, because Malachi Moore's injury, or, did he somewhat beat him out, or is it still because of the back injury of Malachi Moore, or do you think has Brian Branch play? Do you think it's a combination of the two? Brian Branch is playing better and Malachi Moore's injury in a way?
I think Corey, it's a combination of the two. I think it's the lingering back things with Malachi, but then also Brian Branch is playing tremendous ball. And I've said this, ever since the LSU game, 14 has really turned it on. And when you have a player that's playing that electric defensively, he has elevated the play on that side of the ball. You're Nick Saban. You really do not want to touch that. You don't want to move that. You don't want to mess with that type of chemistry on the field. When Branch is playing well, when he's playing lights out, and he is playing lights out, I don't think Saban wants to bother that.
When it comes to this championship game, I think what's going to be key is to be balanced. Not that the game plan against Georgia the first time was wrong, but you could tell that Brian Robinson wasn't healthy and that we were more of a passing team. But I think if we could be more balanced, and I'm not saying you're going to run for a ton of yards, but if you can be just a little bit balanced in a way, because we have a more healthy Brian Robinson, and you can use Trey Sanders in there too, it'll make things more doable offensively, because even though you're not going to have a John Mechie, I still think you can use the other receivers. And don't you agree we can be more balanced now?
I think Alabama can be, Corey. I think it comes down to first and foremost. Yes, Brian Robinson's not going to run for over 200 yards in this matchup against Georgia, but if you can get him between 80 and 100, 125, maybe somewhere in there, and then definitely take shots with Bryce Young in the passing game and have other receivers step up, the balance could be there. I just think that with Brian Robinson, if you can get him in this matchup between 80 to 125 yards, that might be your best bet there. Appreciate Corey from Trustville for that call, showing love from the show. We grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, Stephen, this is Shane. I'm calling from Huntsville, Alabama. How you doing, brother?
Doing great, Shane, and yourself?
Doing great. Hey, just had one quick thing I wanted to talk to you about. I heard from some local business owners here in Huntsville that know a couple boosters in Tuscaloosa that Bryce Young was a little bit under the weather last week. Have you heard anything of that sort, or is that just a rumor mill?
That's probably just a rumor mill. I didn't hear anything about Bryce Young being a little bit under the weather. That did not that did not come to me.
Okay, well, I had just heard that, and I didn't know how much truth there was to it. And the other question I had for you was also about Malachi Moore. Your last caller kind of touched on that, and really all I wanted to talk to you about. But, hey, man, love your show, and I appreciate you taking my call.
Absolutely appreciate that call right there coming from Shane out of Huntsville. Yeah, going back to Malachi, I hate it for Malachi because I want to see him out there at that nickel corner position at star. As a freshman last year, he played extremely well, but you hate it for him dealing with the issue, with his back and then when you have a Brian Branch playing lights out football, you don't want to take him off of star because he's built so much momentum. He's built so much energy. He's played so well. And it's something about when Branch is playing well, it does something to DeMarco Helms. It does something to Jordan Battle. And then they all start playing well. And then it becomes contagious because when you have a secondary playing at a high level, that is fun to watch out there on the field. But we grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Boosie Jackson from Montgomery, Alabama.
What's going on, Boosie? What's happening with you?
Not too much, man. I saw one of my childhood friends, George Teague, on your show, and I wanted to call in and give him his praise for the stuff that he did at Alabama and for the Cowboys when he knocked the Terrell Owens off that
That
star.
was Terrell Owens.
Yes, man. I brag about that to this day. George T grew up in my neighborhood in Twin Gates. Man, he's one of the guys that I love him to death, man. I wanted to praise him. And I heard the Tide, man, give him some praise, but George T really needs some praise, man. He's a really good player. And I got the best game plan to beat Georgia. They said coaches don't get on the field and play, but that's true. But I think if Alabama make Georgia, rush the quarterback and make him turn over the ball real early, I think Kirby Smart will snatch the quarterback out of the game, and he's going to go back and forth between quarterbacks. I think if Alabama just, concentrate on just make the quarterback make a mistake early, I think Kirby Smart would be just trying to please the Georgia fans by putting that second string quarterback in there. So like I said, once you got two quarterbacks, you have no quarterback. So I think if they concentrate on that, I think Alabama beat them pretty bad because Kirby Smart, he's going to try to make up, try to make up for the mistake if the quarterback makes. So he's going to be real jittery in his decision making. So that's my thought. And I want to say I love your show, man. And if George Teague still out there, tell him I love him, Boosie from Montgomery, Alabama. Thank you, sir.
Appreciate the call right there to the show on a Monday. We are continuing with calls. You guys blowing us up right now. We take this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, what's up, man? Calling from Tuscaloosa, right down the street from the campus. And my name is Danny Tate, man.
How you feeling right now, man? Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year to you, man. I'm feeling good. But, man, I got a couple of questions. Okay. I know everybody keeps saying my boy Jai Hall is not like he's pouting on the sideline and stuff and everything. But, look, I'm telling people, if he gets in, this dude is a beast. This dude is like Julio Jones. He's just not big as him. But this dude got hands. He's quick. And he likes to run over people. And if I was Nick Saban, yeah, Georgia's going to bring more pressure in this game. But if I was him, I'll make Georgia go in their down package because their corners is not good. Number 11, the one that got the MVP of the game or whatever, that dude got beat so many times. It's just Michigan don't have the talent. Like, I've seen busted coverages all game. Even that first drive of Michigan, they had a first down and fourth down. They just dropped the ball.
Good point right there. I mean, Hall was on the field against Cincinnati in the Cotton Bowl. He was out there, but I mean, I do see the point. If that young man can find a way to get out there on the field extensively, he can do something. He can be something. I agree with that.
Yes, he is, man. But like I said, George is going to come with pressure more in this game because, everybody's saying, okay, Messi's gone. Oh, Alabama can't do anything. Everybody's just so worried about Messi. I'm like, you guys don't understand. We got so many players that can make, big plays. It's not just Messi, man. I know Mechie, he's good. It's like Mechie is very good, but it's not just him.
Yeah, definitely keep your eyes on everybody. Appreciate that call right there. Coming into the show, Crimson Tide taking on Georgia next week. College football playoff national championship, Lucas Oil Stadium in Indianapolis. We grab this call here. You're live on the show. What's going on? How we feeling? State your name and where you calling from.
Hey, it's Mattress Matt from Mobile.
Mattress Matt, what's happening, man?
Oh, man. Okay. You know, so what if Bryce Young, if they come after Bryce Young even more this time, that's just going to open up Jamison Williams even more. So the more they come after Bryce Young, the worse it's going to be for them. So, you know, you can come after Bryce Young, but you're not going to be able to catch him if he runs wide. And you're also going to open up Cameron Latu and Jamison Williams. I hope they come after Bryce Young. And the guy that said he might be sick, I'm not giving any validity to that, but even if he was sick, you know, we've got two thoroughbreds in our second and third string that I think are just fine equipped to distribute the ball to Brian Robinson and Jamison Williams.
And then,
so I think we're going to be fine.
And then, Matt, you still hold your confidence, Matt, on Christian Leary. You still hold that Christian Leary confidence.
I mean, what I think they're doing with Christian Leary is they say, okay, as a business owner like myself, I got to look at my inventory, right? And Christian Leary, I think they're protecting him. I don't think they want him to get hurt because when Jamison Williams leaves, he'll be the only guy that can run at elite speed, with the exception of the two. There is two freshmen coming in that can run some 10.5, I think, 100-yard dashes. But Christian Leary, when Jamison Williams leaves, he's going to be the guy that is going to be able to run the whole field and outrun everybody. JoJo Earl has got really quick side-to-side speed, but he can't outrun the flock. If you look at his top speed, he can't just outrun a whole field. He can outmaneuver them and stuff, but that only take you so far. You got to have a guy that if you pass him the ball, he can outrun everybody on the field in the open field, like Jamison Williams. So Christian Leary can do that. Why they're not letting him do it, you know, I know you've said that he needs to be better when he's off the ball, you know, blocking and stuff, and there's probably something to that. Maybe, I don't know, sometimes you don't know the attitude. Some players might have a, you know, maybe a poor attitude. I don't know, you know, so I don't know all the inside stuff of what goes on, but when you've got a guy with that kind of speed on paper, legit that fast, and you're not putting the ball in his hands, you know, I don't know, maybe you can kind of clue us in as to what's going on with that, but I'd like to see more of him for sure.
Absolutely. Appreciate Matt there for that phone call calling out of Mobile. I'd like to see more of Christian Leary myself. I mean, I can see where Saban would probably be holding him for big things next year, starting off in the spring. I can definitely see that, but at some point we're going to see Christian Leary out there. That's going to happen, whether it be in the game against Georgia, whether it be starting off next spring. Christian Leary, number 12 from Orlando, Florida, will be on the field. We got to check out some super chats right now, so how about my man Bill from New York? Bill from New York, that $5 donation, helping us out right there. And then we got my man Coach Smoke, Senator Hines, coming in with a $5 donation on his end. Appreciate the love there from Coach Smoke and my man Bill from New York. Also, Tide fans, if you want to have your picture featured on the show with your name when you call in. You send that photo to tdalabamateam@gmail.com. That's tdalabamateam@gmail.com. You send the photo right there, and the photo will be featured with your name live on screen as you call into the show. Going to transition into a quick topic, and this one goes to Alabama football in the NFL, in particular two quarterbacks. How about Mac Jones and Jalen Hurts? Mac 10 and Jay Hurts have their teams in the NFL playoffs. Mac Jones has the Patriots in the playoffs at 10-5, 11-5. 11-5 on the year. Mac Jones actually tied Jimmy Plunkett for most touchdown passes thrown by a rookie quarterback in the Patriots history. So kudos to Mac Jones. He outdueled Trevor Lawrence on yesterday in a great matchup between the Patriots and the Jaguars. Patriots got a 50-10 win. And then how about Jalen Hurts? Despite all the criticism, all the naysay, all the he can't do it, he's got the Eagles at 9-7 in the playoffs. And if you look at Jalen's numbers this season, he's completed over 60% of his passes. He's thrown for over 3,000 yards. He's got 26 total touchdowns. Jalen Hurts has 6 games this season with a passer rating of 100 or more. He's got 6 games this season with 2+ touchdown passes. Jalen Hurts has done a fine job, and he's done enough to where you got to respect him as a starting quarterback in this league. Is he the most polished passer in the world? No. But he's a winner. He's a competitor. He gets everybody around him better. The city of Philadelphia has finally bought all the way in on him. And most importantly, like I've mentioned, he's done enough numbers-wise, productions-wise, for people to look at him now. This guy is a quality starter in the pros. So kudos to Jalen Hurts and for Mac Jones, both having their respective teams in the playoffs. But we take a final break here on the show. Don't touch that dial, because when we get back, we discuss it is time to put some respect on him. Put some respect on the man, Pete Golding. We'll talk about it after this.
If you're an avid Alabama Crimson Tide fan and you love to flaunt it, then show your Alabama Crimson Tide support by grabbing the All-Bama sneakers. They feature bold Crimson Tide graphics, so no one will be able to question where your allegiance lies. When you add these sweet sneakers to your Alabama Crimson Tide collection, go to STSfootwear.com and use the code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. That's code TDAlabama for $15 off your purchase. Go to STSfootwear.com and get your All-Bama sneakers today. Touchdown Alabama Magazine is Alabama football's premier publication. A subscription to Touchdown Alabama Magazine is the perfect gift for any Alabama fan. For exclusive news and information, recruiting updates, a free annual print magazine, and more, go to touchdownalabama.com and click join. Only $7.95 per month, or pay $74.95 for a full year subscription. That's a yearly saving of $20. Go to touchdownalabama.com today and roll Tide. Thank you for tuning in. Show your support right now by clicking that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button now and enable all notifications to make sure you don't ever miss any of the best Alabama football news, notes, and information right here on Touchdown Alabama.
Back in from the break, people, on the number one forum for Bama football news, in my own words. Yours truly, Stephen Smith of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, starting your new year off correctly. And as always, Bama Nation, we want you to like the show up. Hit that thumbs up, run those likes up, make this your show, your network, your platform, your space to talk Alabama football. We appreciate you guys helping us out right here. As always, got to remind you of TDAwear.com. That is TDAwear.com. So for all of you fans still overjoyed with the Crimson Tide's national championship from the 2020 campaign, we want you to check out our championship collection merch. This means you grab you an 18 of them things, folk hoodie, t-shirt, or sweatshirt, as well as our Got 18 We Do shirts, designs that feature all 18 championship years on the back. You head over to tdawear.com, do it right now, tdawear.com. You go over Championship Collections merch tab, and you get you that gear today, showing that support for Coach Saban, the University of Alabama, the student athletes, and us here at Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But we got to shout out Nona Davis one time. Nona Davis with that $5 donation helping us out here on the show. Appreciate the love there coming from Nona here too. Touchdown Alabama Magazine. But now, people, we got to get into this right here. I think it is time. It is time to put some respect on Pete Golding's name. He did an unbelievable job in the Cotton Bowl against Cincinnati. He has done an outstanding job having this defense improve, playing faster, playing stronger, playing better, communicating better since the Texas A&M game. And I get it. Pete Golding has been through a lot of criticism. He's been through a lot of criticism, been through a lot of doubters, been through a lot of folks saying, fire Pete Golding, fire him. He hasn't got fired yet, fire Pete Golding. But he has stood in the midst of all the criticism. He has taken all the criticism, and what has he done? He has got this defense playing on fire. He has got this defense playing its best ball. He has got this defense flying all over the field. We've had U.S. callers talk about it. The defense, we're not seeing adjustments at halftime. We're seeing in-game quick maneuvers, quick adjustments, quick touch-ups, quick alterations, attacking the ball, attacking the players who got the ball, sacking quarterbacks, stuffing the run, creating turnovers on down, stopping teams on fourth down. You've got to put some respect now on Coach Golding. Now, I get it. There is still one more game to go, and it's the biggest game of the year. National championship against Georgia. He still has to put one more quality big showing together. But at this point and at this juncture right now, Pete Golding, you got to put some respect on this young man at 37 years of age, what he is doing since the Texas A&M game as Alabama's defensive coordinator. Going into the Cincinnati matchup, the Bearcats were a top 10 scoring offense, putting up 38.8 points per game. This was not a slouch offense. This offense could score points. You were going up against a Jerome Ford that had over 1,200 yards rushing, 1,243 with 19 touchdowns. No slouch. This is a really good running back. You were going up against some really talented receivers in Alec Pierce and Michael Young Jr. and Tyler Scott and Josh Wiley. And you were going up against a quarterback in Desmond Ridder, who's no slouch. Two-time American Athletic Conference Offensive Player of the Year, a guy that had 3,190 passing yards, 36 total touchdowns, a guy that will be talked about in possibly being a late first, early second round pick in terms of this year's draft here coming up in April. So this was not a slouch of an offense in Cincinnati. And the fact that Pete Golding called a masterful defensive scheme that shut this team all the way down. Bearcats did not even score a touchdown, put up just 6 points, 2 field goals. Cincinnati, 218 yards of total offense. Bearcats, just 74 yards rushing. Bearcats, 2 of 12 on third down. Bearcats 0 for 3 on fourth down. Cincinnati, 58 total plays on an average of 3.8 yards per play. Bama had 6 sacks, 8 tackles for loss, 6 pass breakups, 2 quarterback hurries, was just handling Desmond Ridder and the Bearcats on the field. You've got to give Pete Golding big credit where that is concerned. And also just different guys Coach Golding has gotten to really step up. I mean, of course, Will Anderson's the main guy. Will Anderson's the head honcho. We get that. But the way Dallas Turner played in this matchup, the way DJ Dale got the first sack of the game, y'all. Whoever had DJ Dale getting the first sack on the bingo card, come claim your prize. DJ Dale had a big game. Fedarian Mathis was everywhere. Big Five, Big Phil was everywhere, batting down passes, harassing Desmond Ritter, stopping the run. But Arian Mathis was everywhere on the field. And Henry To'o played well. I mean, in his gap, reading his keys, breaking up passes. Christian Harris getting sacks. He was all over the field. He played well. In the secondary, I mentioned Kyrie Jackson played well. Brian Branch, DeMarco Helms, Daniel Wright had a good football game. So you just look at Pete Golding's got these guys flying to the ball, communicating well, going through checks and balances, making sure you got your guy, you got your guy, you got your guy. Everybody's in full harmony. Everybody's in full unison. And you as a Tide fan and Tide Nation for all, you guys have been waiting for this defense to play just like this. And since the A&M game, this group has turned it on. This group has turned a corner. They've been making adjustments. They've been playing outstanding football. And the big part of it is Pete Golding has gotten comfortable, but he's gotten confident in his play calling, in his blitzing, in his scheming, in his strategizing. He has put things together. Time to give that man his just due respect. And something interesting here, people. Alabama with Pete Golding, they've got 52 sacks. Third in college football. Bama with Pete Golding, 52 sacks. Alabama with Jeremy Pruitt back in 2015 had 52 sacks. That's interesting. The coordinator that people really, really loved, and I really enjoyed Jeremy Pruitt, he had 52 sacks, 2015 with that defense. This defense under Pete Golding, 52 sacks. Now, I understand Will Anderson has the lion's share of those with 17 and a half. He is half a sack away from tying Derek Thomas's record of 18 sacks from the 1987 season, his junior year, that being for second place all time in Alabama football history. Derek Thomas's mark of 27 sacks from 1988 is first all time for Alabama in a single season, but you still got to give that kudos to Coach Golding, because behind Will Anderson, you've got Phil Mathis with 10 sacks. You've got Dallas Turner with about 6.5 to 7 sacks. I'm pretty sure Byron Young's got 3 to 4 sacks in there. So along with Will Anderson, you're seeing other guys step up in there and take down the quarterback. But I thought it was just very interesting to bring that up. 2015, Jeremy Pruitt's defense that year, 52 sacks. And now here is Pete Golding with a defense that's got 52 sacks here on the campaign. So it is time to put some respect on Golding's name. Hopefully, he can give this same type of performance one more time next week, Indianapolis, Lucas Oil Stadium for the national championship against Georgia. But as always, Tide Nation, you want the best in news, notes, information, and coverage on your favorite program, that being Alabama football. You can get this by accessing the Touchdown Alabama Magazine app. You download the app from the iPhone App Store. If you're rocking Team Apple, Google Play Store if you got the Android phone. For your audio listening needs, check us out. We got you. iTunes or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Spreaker, Overcast.fm, Google Play, TuneIn Radio, or iHeartRadio, got you right there. If the good and gracious Lord sees fit, I'll be back on Wednesday continuing the conversation that is Bama football. Remember, Tide fans, you can purchase individual copies of Touchdown Alabama Magazine, have those sent to your door. That link found in the description. If you're also trying to get the fresh edition, print edition of TDA the magazine, you go to touchdownalabama.com, you click join, become a member, a subscriber today. That link in the description as well. If you're trying to get the 4-finger bling necklace, 4-finger bling jewelry, courtesy of our guys at weownthefourthquarter.com, that link in the description as well. But until next time, people, husbands love your wives. Wives appreciate, value those husbands, children, new year, but still do the right thing, fun thing, good thing, smart thing, legitimate thing, to not be bored. You open up that new year getting your 3 hearty meals a day, your 3 great laughs a day. You protect yourself. You protect the loved ones around you. Until next time, folks, I'm your man, Stephen M. Smith, and you've been listening to In My Own Words.